alaikum everyone. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Duck Stories, Telenor Pakistan's flagship platform where we talk about failures shamelessly. Today I'm joined by an enterprising guest who is here to talk to us about her challenges, the story of her resilience, failures, comebacks, on her mission to support the mobility issues in Pakistan and to empower everybody on their daily commute. I'm here to talk to Maha Shahzad, who is the founder of Bus Karo. Maha, welcome to Duck Stories.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So excited to have you. We've been trying to have you for quite some time, but today is the day. So I'm glad about it.
I'm glad we finally made it work.
So Maha, let's dive right into it. Let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born and raised? How was it?
I was born in Karachi, raised kind of all over the place. I always like to say I was raised in an aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And so was kind of between Pakistan and Europe and the US. So home was a little bit of everywhere. I come from, a family where I think I was raised by a matriarch, which was my nani. And so I think, that sort of is eventually what, shaped me into the person I am. And that was my childhood in a nutshell.
Tell us about your school years. Were you an academic student or were you into co-curricular activities or did you have a fine balance between the two?
Neither. I lived my life had very, very different circumstances. And so school for me meant, saal ke end mein exams dene. Because there was a lot of travel. I was going back and forth. When I was a child, my mom was battling cancer. And in fact, when I was born, they gave her 6 months. She lived another 10. And so that was sort of the face of resilience that I came across. And I didn't even know that cancer could hurt as a child because that's the kind of bravery I saw from her. And so, there was a lot of back and forth traveling with her health, my dad's business being around. And so, वो एक typical childhood जो होता है, वो मेरा नहीं हुआ. Just moved around, exams de diye, and that was the idea of school for me, really. Grew up around adults, didn't really know how to behave around children. And so slightly unique childhood story there.
Now that you brought it up, how did this episode of not having your mom around for a long time shape you as a person?
I think a lot of things have shaped me, right? Like one is, I think, my dad, because I was the first child and my mom was already sick, thought of me as his son as opposed to his daughter, right? And so वो जो सारे biases आते हैं एक खातून होने के, वो आने का कभी मौका नहीं मिला because I didn't really realize that I'm a girl, right? And at the same time, when I looked at women, all I could see was just intense resilience, right? Mom was battling cancer and, out partying, right? Tayar okay, every Sunday she wanted to go out, came to pick me up from school every single day without fail. And so that's the kind of strength that I saw women having, right? And then there was my nani who passed away in 2018 at the age of 85, but went to work on her last day and went to work dressed tip-top to an extent that you and I could not pull off in Karachi humidity, right? And I think so, one, I was looking at these women who were just absolutely the epitome of strength. And two, I was kind of raised to be a boy, right? And so the expectations of me were very gender neutral and across the board. The expectation was that I would always just do everything that needed to be done. And that's all I knew, which I think ultimately meant that I've never questioned कि मैं कोई चीज़ कर सकती हूँ या नहीं कर सकती. मैं एक रोल में जा सकती हूँ या नहीं जा सकती हूँ. मैं एक मेल डोमिनेटेड इंडस्ट्री में काम कर सकती हूँ या नहीं कर सकती हूँ. आई थिंक वो जो जेंडर का कॉन्सेप्ट है वो कभी आ नहीं सका मुझ में, राइट? एंड आई थिंक दैट अल्टीमेटली जस्ट फ्रॉम ए कॉन्फिडेंस पर्सपेक्टिव और जस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट यू वांट टू अचीव एंड गो आफ्टर, I think has never been a roadblock for me in the way that I think it oftentimes can be when you're a woman in Pakistan. And so I think, that built a lot of strength and courage. I was almost delusional around, the double standards we have in this country till I was much, much older, which I think is a blessing for me.
Yeah. Did you ever feel that because you were being raised as a boy, you were pampered a lot or you were not pampered at all?
So I think I was a pretty pampered child because I'm the first on both sides of the family, and and the grandparents and unke bhai behan and so there was me, and then there was nobody until I was 13, right? Like across the board. My dad had me very young. And so, I mean, yes, I was spoiled, but I was always raised to be very responsible, accountable, manage things, take ownership of things. I was a little adult.
Yeah, grew up too fast.
I grew up too fast, and now I like to be a child. And so I think my life has been sort of in reverse in that sense. But I think spoiled bhi thi, magar bahut sense of responsibility bhi thi. And so, that DNA was set very early, and, just way circumstances were.
And you said that aapki school life sort of disturbed thi because you had traveled a lot and all. But what did you envision yourself as growing up? Career kya chahiye tha? Kuch to aspirations har bacche ki hoti hain.
It's interesting. Meri aspirations nahi thi. In fact, I remember that in kindergarten or first grade, sare bachon se pucha gaya tha, what do you want to grow up and be? Kisi ne astronaut likha, which was the majority of kids. Kisi ne scientist likha. I wrote, I want to grow up and be a mother.
Wonderful.
And that was sort of my aspiration. I didn't think deliberately about a career, but at the same time, my dad used to run these trade fairs, and I'd stand at those stalls and I'd start selling things, right? It would just come very naturally to me.
Tell us more about it. How would you make a sales pitch?
It's easy when you're 6 years old and you're
there's the cuteness factor that comes in.
You're a chubby little kid and you're saying, please buy something from me. I think that's the easiast negotiations I've done.
Was that in Pakistan or abroad?
No, this would generally be in Hungary. In Budapest, my dad would be traveling for his trade fairs. मैं अपने अब्बा की दुम हुआ करती थी, मैं साथ साथ जाती थी. And I'd just start selling things.
So they had put this, the spirit of salesman in you from the very young age.
I think that was always, I think what was put into me was problem solving, right? And I'd never thought about whether that's at work or at home or, in some other place. It's just when you see a problem, you solve it, right? And so I think I'm someone who never deliberately thought about a career, never deliberately thought about being an entrepreneur, but I thought about jahan masla nazar aaye usko hal karna hai, right?
Wonderful.
And that could mean anything.
Yeah. So that's a unique approach. Not, I don't think many kids grew up with that. So I think you're fortunate that whether it was deliberate or undeliberately, your family gave you that sort of an environment where you could think that, okay, this is a problem and let me try to solve it. So I think that's how it shaped you as an entrepreneur that you are today. So Maha, please tell us about your educational background. How was school? Where did you finish? And then what was college like? And then what's your degree?
I don't have one. I'm a self-confessed autodidact. We're talking about failures today, and so I think this is a great question that you've asked me. मुझे वो मौका नहीं मिला कि मैं कॉलेज जा सकूं. By the time that time came, I needed to be making money, right? I needed to be earning. And that also ties into this whole thing around transportation and why I'm obsessed with it. And मैं उस वक्त LA में होती थी, और मेरे पास गाड़ी नहीं होती थी, and I used to take multiple buses बदल के to get to college and come back. But simultaneously काम भी करना होता था. So वो opportunity cost of those hours didn't make economic sense for me. And I ended up dropping out thinking कि जी बाद में पैसे होंगे तो तब जाऊँगी. और उसके बाद मैं काम करने में इतनी मसरूफ़ हो गई कि वो मौका मिला नहीं. And I always joke about how when I retire, I'm going to go back to college. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? But I just didn't get that opportunity. And I think that's been my biggest setback, my biggest failure. And it seemed like the end of the world at that time, right? Because anything that I've done in my career required preferable masters, at least bachelors, right? And so it's been a real fight getting to where I've gotten today. Being a woman is hard enough, and then you add, being an uneducated one on that. And it makes it pretty difficult to build a career in this country.
I can imagine. But your first job was and abroad.
So I have been working in some capacity since I was like 15 years old. That being said, I had jobs in the US. I've worked all kinds of odd jobs. I've worked in Pakistan back in 2013 जब Food Panda launch हो रहा था.
That was your first job in Pakistan?
That was my first job in Pakistan.
Tell us about it. How did you join Food Panda? What were you working as?
So it's interesting. I was sitting at a restaurant और मेरी साथ वाली टेबल पे कोई बैठा सुन रहा था. Didn't intend to. और I was telling a friend कि I wish I could get a job in Karachi and just spend some time living here. And this guy just turned around and he said, didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I have a friend who's heading HR at Food Panda and she's desperately looking for people. Would you like me to connect you? And I said, sure. So she called me up and she said, कि जी CV भेज दें. And I knew CV भेज दिया तो call नहीं आएगी. So I said, मैं आपको CV ला दूंगी कल meeting के लिए. And she said, okay, fine. Then bring it with you in person. And I knew that was my only shot, that I meet and I convinced this team to hire me anyway. And when I went there, I wanted a role in sales. And they said, sales mein nahi ho sakta.
Sorry to interject, but why sales?
Because I think that was, to me, the most important element of that business at that point, right? Everything else is irrelevant if we can't go and bring clients on board.
Absolutely.
Right? आप अगर फूड पैंडा पे जाएंगे और रेस्टोरेंट से नहीं नजर आएंगे तो फूड पैंडा का कोई पॉइंट नहीं है, right? And especially early on. And so sales is what I wanted to do. And they said नहीं, sales में आप नहीं जा सकती क्योंकि आप एक खातून हैं, आप मार्केटिंग में चली जाएं, हम आपको मार्केटिंग में रोल दे देंगे. And I said, मुझे तो मार्केटिंग आती नहीं है. And they said, it doesn't matter, you're a girl, English अच्छी है, कर लोगी. I'm like, okay, चलें. I knew कि मैं sales ही करूँगी. But I said, okay. So I joined Food Panda on whatever department they wanted me to. And I didn't show up to work for 3 days. On my own dime, traveled across Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, went and closed all of the restaurants that had been marked, write-offs. And then came back with, a pile of contracts this big, very dramatic scene. Went to the CEO, threw them on the table and said, don't ever tell me what a woman can and cannot do ever again. P.S. I've told the admin guy to print me new business cards. And so he laughed hysterically, right? And they were all very happy and very proud. And I think that sort of started that transition of me, building my career there, and ended up, doing really, really well there. And so that's basically how that started. But uske baad, every time I've wanted a job, HR ka kaam hai mujhe reject karna. And so every single time it's been an absolute battle.
Wow, despite having worked at Food Panda. But how long were you there?
I was there for a year.
For a year. And then you moved on to?
I had to move back to the US. Us waqt I was in the middle of my immigration. So wo, the deal was कि जी मैं 1 साल ही काम कर सकती हूँ. And then I went back to the States and then moved here for Careem in 2017.
And all this while, so from 2014 to 17, you were in the US.
So from 2015 to the beginning of 2017, I was in the US.
Did you work there?
I was working in New York. I was working in fashion.
Wonderful. So that's another industry you added, food and then fashion. Wonderful. And then you came back and you joined Careem. And the struggle started again.
This struggle started again, of course. So, the guy in HR who I became very good friends with ultimately, he tells me now, and it's a joke now, that he had, when he met me, while I was sitting in front of him, already sent an email to global HR saying, can't hire this candidate, doesn't meet the criteria.
Oh, wow.
और वहाँ भी उन्होंने resume मांगा, मैंने ज़ाहिर है नहीं भेजा क्योंकि मैं तो हर किसी से कहती हूँ जी बिजली नहीं है मेरे पास, मैं in person लेके आऊँगी.
Right.
So I had made it to the office, and jab tak he was going to ask me to leave, the CEO for Careem, Junaid at that time, who he couldn't communicate this to, walked in and said, I'm ready for you. And so I said, all right, I got my shot again. 5 minutes later, he was convinced. They made me an offer. Careem was solving something that was so close to my heart. that I decided, ठीक है जी, मैं जा रही हूँ, bags pack कर रही हूँ, will be back in 10 days. And the rest is history. I've been living here ever since.
And what were you doing at Kareem?
Kareem, I was looking after their partnerships, sales, so on and so forth.
What after Kareem?
फिर एक नई स्ट्रगल आ गई. फिर लोगों ने ये मान लिया कि जी अच्छा ठीक है, सेल्स कर सकती हैं ये.
Right.
तब मुझे और काम
You
करने
were
थे.
titled as a salesperson.
I was titled as like, you know, a great head of sales, right? But that sort of became this box that I was put into, and God knows I hate being boxed, right? And I wanted to do something very different. They wouldn't give me that. And you know, their point was that you haven't done that, you don't have a degree, how will you do it? And so for me, I knew agla role I will only take if I get these two other things, right? और फिर मैं लड़ गई थी और मुझे 6 महीने नौकरी नहीं मिली, मैं घर में बैठी रही. But I was not willing to take on a role that didn't give me P&L and ops.
Right.
Which is what I was now told I can't do, right? And eventually found that role at Cheetah. And I
right.
joined them as their country head for food. And that's where sort of I proved that I could do those things, right?
So they offered you the role before you could even prove it to them. Tell us a little bit about that negotiation.
Absolutely. So Ahmed Khan was a founder of Cheetah. He'd seen me because he was at Rocket Internet earlier. He'd seen what I've done at Kareem. He knew, I think, what my work ethic was like. I think he knew that there was this fire in me. I think he knew that, okay, you know, she's great at managing people. She's great at sales. Okay, so she hasn't worked with these particular spreadsheets in the past, but do I think she'll figure it out? Sure. And he took that chance on me, which ultimately led to me having sort of a proven track record there, which is what I eventually used to then, you know, go to Swivel, which was again a fight, and then some, and then, you know, came Swivel.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm just observing that how in this journey you had put up a fight for different roles that you wanted to learn and prove yourself, and you got to convince men into offering you those roles. I find that very interesting because obviously that has been a challenge and still is for so many women out here.
Absolutely. But I think that the reason that people don't think that women can do certain things is because, you know, not because they don't want women in those roles, but because we have these biases where even women think that women can't do certain things, right? And I think every time a woman goes out and proves that wrong, उसके बाद आप देखेंगे एकदम से लड़कियां भरी हुई होंगी उस फील्ड में, right?
Agreed, yes.
And so it's very hard to get that first one. And then I think all of a sudden there's like a flock, right? And you know, I'm lucky to be part of a time in Pakistan in the ecosystem where I was the first in everything, certainly not the last.
The trailblazer.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I'm very proud of. And then came Swivel, where again, there were multiple fights, right? Buses chalaungi, ek khatun aake, ye kaise ho sakta hai? Exist ही नहीं करती खवातीन इस फील्ड में. So I think that was a fight. फिर वही डिग्री नहीं है, you know, रोल इस्लामाबाद का है, मैं कराची से हूँ, GM इस्लामाबाद बन जाऊँ, so on and so forth. And I fought really, really hard. And multiple people were offered the job. In fact, I applied for Karachi. Karachi was given to someone else. फिर मैं इतनी ख्वार हूँ कि मैंने इस्लामाबाद का भी रोल ले लिया. That 3 people had turned down, right? And then they called me. And I said, I'll take it. I didn't have the academic background that everybody else at, you know, that company had. Everybody was like a foreign grad, mostly LUMS, thoda bahut IBA. Uske alawa koi university bhi nahi thi.
Of course,
main,
yeah. The cream.
Zero education, right? And a woman, and this is a bus hailing business, suppliers se deal karna hai, so on and so forth, that I think it was very difficult for people to believe that I would even want to do that, let alone succeed at it. And I took that role. And I knew that I'm going to come back to Karachi very quickly. I kept my place in Karachi. I knew I would be so damn good that I'd be moved back. And 5 months later, I was. Once I'd set up Islamabad, made it one of the most successful markets for Swivel globally, despite the population size here. Islamabad was like twice the size of Karachi. And then I was given Karachi. that I was leading for only a few weeks, did a very quick turnaround, and then I was given Pakistan, which was again based out of Karachi. And so I promised myself in my head कि मैं 6 महीने में Karachi में होंगी. Made it back in 5. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Where does this confidence come from, Maha? I mean, hearing your story, all I can see is that there's this strong self-belief. Tell our viewers, where does that come from?
Anger. I think it stems from anger. I think it stems from this frustration of कि जी दुनिया define करेगी आप क्या कर सकते हैं और क्या नहीं कर सकते, right? How in the world could anyone else know what one person is capable of, right? And I think anyone can do anything that they want to do, right? And so I think it's wouldn't even say it's confidence. I think for me, one thing has been something that I would not step away from, which is that other people will not define what my life is. Failures मेरे होंगे, successes मेरी होंगी और मेरे terms पे होंगे, right? And उसकी जो भी price है, I'm willing to pay that. And so, you know, मैं लड़ती रही, and then I finally had my dream job, right? Which was the country head for Swivel. That was my dream job.
Wow.
And then life happened.
And then life happened, yes. Tell us about it.
I became the country head in, I want to say February of 2022. Post-COVID. March 31st, we were ringing the bell. We were a bunch of brown kids, you know, NASDAQ pe ghantiyan baja rahe. It was a dream. April was one of our best months, you know, and I remember at the end of April, पूरी पाकिस्तान टीम को मैं speeches दे रही थी, awards दे रही थी, appraisals हो रहे थे. उन्हीं लोगों को मुझे 4 दिन बाद face करना पड़ा because we had to shut down, right? And it was one of the most devastating things that's, you know, happened to me both professionally and personally. And markets just changed so quickly, you know, that unfortunately those decisions were made very quickly. Aur us waqt I refused to quit. And so I told the founder of Swivel, Mustafa, I'm like, listen, just give me this much capital to play with. I don't want a salary. मैं ये market profitable कर दूंगी.
Maha, you've worked at Swivel and you said that it was the job of your dreams, and then everything came down. But then what was the defining moment where you said that you want to have or you want to start something of your own?
There was none. I loved my job. I lost it. And I loved what I was solving. I think for me, I've been very clear. You know, एक तो मेरे अपने experiences से, फिर पाकिस्तान में जब मैं काम करती थी, even at Food Panda, तो मेरे सारे पैसे तो मैं एक टैक्सी वाले को देती थी, right? And Food Panda plays well. But I was perpetually unsafe. You know, there was an issue around transportation constantly. It was extremely overpriced. And I hated that, right? And I think it's such a big barrier for women. कि वो जब मुझे करीम में मौका मिला, I loved solving that, right? And करीम में I realized कि जी, okay, करीम can only solve for the top 2-3%. बाकी 97% का क्या होना है? उतने में Swivel खुल गई, मैंने कहा जी ठीक है, this is perfect, this is the dream. And I absolutely loved the impact that it was creating. So when, you know, they shut down in Pakistan, I didn't think about it. I think कोई 2-3 लोग हैं टीम से जो आके अगले दिन मेरे घर में बैठ गए. कोई डिस्कशन नहीं हुई थी कि हम कोई कंपनी शुरू कर रहे हैं और एनीथिंग. सब आके बस बैठ गए, यू नो, एंड दे वर फिगरिंग आउट के प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कैसे करनी है ये. एंड सो देयर वाज नो रियल कॉन्शियस प्रोसेस. एंड देन आई रिमेंबर आई वाज क्राइंग and my dad called me, and he has only heard me cry maybe once in my life before this, and he was shocked कि मैं रो रही हूँ. And he said, how can you cry? And I was like, well, you know, this is what's happening. How can I not? And he said, did you know how to do your job yesterday? I said, yes. He said, then I'm sure you know how to do it today. And I said, कोई hire नहीं कर रहा. He said, तो खुद कर लो. And I think in that moment I did. और एक बस हमने चला दी थी उस दिन WhatsApp से.
Wonderful. WhatsApp से?
WhatsApp. We were running on WhatsApp for a while. You know, और हमें समझ भी नहीं आई और एक कंपनी फॉर्म हो गई आई थिंक उस वक्त. And that's, you know, I never had the intention of being a founder. It's not something that I ever aspired to be. It's never been an idea in my head. It picked me. I didn't pick it. And, you know, ultimately, I think we just ended up starting this company in impossible times, in an impossible fundraising market.
Just walk us through it. So you were sitting there crying. Your father said a few words of wisdom and he was supportive. और आपने अगले दिन बस चला दी.
उसी दिन
बस चला दी. किसके लिए चलाई, कैसे मैनेज किया, थोड़ा सा just dig into it.
So when Swivel shut down, मुझे personally इतने messages आ रहे थे लोगों के. You know, they were angry.
Sure.
They were very upset with me.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about personal messages, right? Where, you know, I remember this one father who said, like, how is my daughter supposed to go? Kal se main kya karunga? I didn't have an answer for him. This one woman said to me कि जी मैंने तो जॉब ही इसलिए ली थी क्योंकि स्विवल की वजह से मैं पहुंच सकती थी. तो अब मैं क्या करूं? मैं तो नई जॉब है मेरी. And I didn't have an answer for her. And I hated that I don't have an answer for these people. And I hated that, you know, something as basic as this is going to determine whether or not this woman can keep this job or this gentleman can get his daughter to school. To me, it's just such a basic human right that I was like, अच्छा जी चला देते हैं बस फिर. And that's how this started.
How did you arrange that bus facility?
काम ही था हमारा. So, you know, somebody in supply went and got the vehicle. Somebody in demand put that route together. पहली बस चल गई, फिर दूसरी चल गई, तीसरी चल गई. We have 1,000 of them today. And it wasn't as deliberate as you'd think. It was just a very, very organic process, right? And then came the fundraising part.
Yes, I would like to know about that. But before you answer me that, if now you look back at the journey of an employee versus an entrepreneur, a founder, tell me about that. Employee hona behtar hota hai, founder hona behtar hota hai. What does it look like?
For me, there's no difference. मैंने जिंदगी में जहाँ काम किया है, मैंने अपना समझ के काम किया है.
Like an entrepreneur, huh?
I've never, ever thought that it's not my company. And I don't think that now either. I think roles are far more interesting when you're not the founder. Because जो काम किसी को नहीं करने होते, वो founder करता है, right? And all the fun stuff, the growth and you know, the interesting things lie with the team. And so I think in that sense, I miss being like on the ground. I miss being more hands-on. I have such a phenomenal team that कुछ ज़्यादा मुझे मौका नहीं मिलता, you know, कुछ करने का. I mean, you know, and great problem to have. But I think there's a lot more action. But in terms of ownership, zero difference. I've never felt it was less of my company when I was at Food Panda, or I was at Careem, or I was at Swivel, or I was at Jeete, or I was working in fashion. So that concept for me doesn't exist.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about the challenges, especially the investment challenges. So you started Bus Karo in 2022, and it just so happened that Bus Karo was born. But then I'm sure the entrepreneurial journey started, and it never comes without any challenges. And we've heard that you had approached some 700 investors before you landed your first one. So kya grit thi, kya resilience tha, what was the thought process? 700 is a big number. And what kept you going?
I think, I mean, for me, it's very simple, right?
Mm.
These are people who say no. Okay.
Yeah.
I need X number of people to say yes.
Mm.
I'm just looking for those people.
Mm.
It was really like, I mean, I'm sure I didn't get tested, but I had clinical depression at the time. Because I was functioning on practically no sleep.
Oh, wow.
I used to work at night. तब मैं US में लोगों को approach करती थी. सुबह दोपहर में, you know, मिडिल ईस्ट, पाकिस्तान के पीछे पड़ी होती थी. उसके बाद यूरोप के पीछे पड़ी होती थी. बीच में कहीं कोई नैप ले लेती थी. एक इन्वेस्टर के साथ कॉल हो रही होती थी, पिच कर रही होती थी. तो पॉपअप्स आ रहे होते थे ईमेल नोटिफिकेशंस के. We're not interested, rejection, we're not interested. And I had to just keep on going. But ultimately, somebody said yes, right?
Who was that?
Alan Rutledge was my first investor. I had like lost hope at that point because कोई बचा नहीं था मेरे पास उस वक्त to connect
And you
with.
were bootstrapping initially.
जी, बिल्कुल. So we were bootstrapping, and I had my call with them at night, and something came over me जिसके बाद 4-5 बजे. I don't know why I woke up and I was like, phone check करने की ज़रूरत है. And उसी second, I kid you not, वो email आई थी which said we're in for 160 or 180, I can't remember the exact amount के, which was at that time like, life changing.
And this investor is based in?
He's US based.
US based, right?
He's US based.
Right.
And that was the first one that came through. And then ekdam se, a bunch of people came through. And then वो सब जिन्होंने मना किया था, I'm so glad that I approached them, because later when we did our round, it's some of those people that came through.
Wonderful.
You know.
They saw credibility, of course.
So
at that
they
point.
were like, she's still at it.
Yeah,
And she's
yeah.
managed to, build this scale. So they came back later. And so it wasn't, a wasted effort at all.
कहीं पे वहाँ ऐसा लगा था कि सारे rejections इसलिए हैं because it's a female founder. And mostly ऐसा होता है कि ख़वातीन जब कोई खातून कुछ pitch कर रही होती है, so then there is like this thought कि ये कर सकेगी, नहीं कर सकेगी, there is not enough evidence and all.
If I'm going to be honest, I don't think about it. I just don't think about it.
Not even in that moment?
I've thought about it in other moments, but I think when you're trying to get something done, it doesn't matter in that moment अगर लोगों के biases हैं या नहीं है. अगर उनका bias इसलिए क्योंकि पाकिस्तान is in the situation that it's in, मैं कह रही हूँ मैं बसें चलाऊंगी और बारिशें ऐसी हो रही हैं कि roads पे बस नहीं चल रही, या swivel बंद हो गई है, या Uber has exited Pakistan, or because I'm a woman, or because it doesn't matter. I need to find someone who's going to say yes, full stop, right? Jitni bhi usme phir issues hain, complications hain, I just have to deal with that, right? So I didn't have the time to think about why they're saying no. That time was better spent in finding someone who would say yes. And I would prove those people wrong.
You said that at one point you had clinical depression, and rightly so, of course. Team ka morale kaisa tha? Because obviously everybody would look up to you. And if the founder is facing challenges, how did they feel and what was their morale like? Did they talk about shutting it down, backing out?
On the contrary, I walked into the office one day. This is 48 hours before this first check came in. And I said, I'm out of funds, shut it down. And I said this to someone in my founding team. His name is Zavar. He didn't say anything. I left. I didn't work for the next day. फिर मैंने अपना phone on किया, and I shut my phone off. I was just done. I turned on my phone the next day, so I saw all these credit card transactions on my personal card, Facebook marketing वगैरह वगैरह. And I'm like, I called him. मैं उसको बहुत बातें सुनाई. I'm like, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? कल हमारी बात हुई है कि. He said, you do what you want. I'm not shutting this company down. You can shut that credit card if you want. Buskaro is not shutting down. And either you get it together and come back, or once we've made Buskaro, we'll hire you. And this is a 20-some-year-old kid who's saying this to me with the utmost arrogance, and I had the biggest smile on my face. And that was the moment that, he gave me that motivation that I needed. And I said, fine, hang up. I'm going to make some more calls, right? And within 24 hours of that, we ended up getting our first check. And so I think that the kind of teams we build as entrepreneurs and the kind of support we build is as important. Koi bhi founder duniya mein nahi hai jo 24 ghante will have faith, who will believe in themselves, who will believe that it can be done, right? And in those moments, there have to be people who tell you get up and keep moving. And I am very, very fortunate where I have a team who has no problem calling me out. And that's the kind of relationship I have with my founding team. There's Muzaffar and Zavar. Muzaffar I worked with in 4 companies. Since Kareem, I've been dragging him around everywhere I go. So they have as much of an opinion on anything related to Bas Karo as I do. In fact, maybe sometimes more of it, right? Because they'll be like, you don't know, we're on ground, we're telling you. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll back off. And so I think एक वो typical relationship वो नहीं रही है, right? And I motivate them, they motivate me, and then we motivate the rest of the team. But I think at on a top leadership level, I think in the founding team, me, Muzaffar Sawar, there hasn't been like a hierarchy of sorts in that sense, which has kept me on my toes.
Talking about that, what kind of a support environment or support system an entrepreneur requires in such moments, in moments of self-doubt, and when you feel like giving up?
I think that you need people around you who remember you for your strength, even when you feel weak, and who show you that mirror, which is very different than how you see yourself, right? And I think that people you work with, other entrepreneurs, other founders, mentors, friends, family, I think anywhere that support can come from, ideally from all of it, because building something is really hard. And then you add building in Pakistan, which has its own completely unique set of additional challenges. And then you add being a woman, right? And it's not easy. And nobody's going to make it easy for you. And you will lose faith. I think there's 100 times a day where I feel, nahi ho sakta, right? And then 100 times or 150 times, I remember ki kyun ho sakta hai. And so I think it's really great to have people that you can pick up the phone and call.
Must be quite humbling.
It is. It is.
Talking about failures, and this is an incredible story of resilience, I would say. I mean, I would have given up. But was that one biggest failure till date? Not getting acceptance rather than, just getting rejections all over? Or do you have anything else that you consider as the biggest or a true failure of your time since Bas Karo started?
Look, every day there's multiple failures, right? Like my concept of failure is so different. I think that...
Tell us about that.
I mean, failure is a given, right? And successes are a given, but it's guaranteed that there's no success if you aren't brave. It's also guaranteed that if you're brave, you're going to be falling a lot, right? And so to get to success of any kind or have even a chance at success, you've got to be failing. I fail every day, right? I fail in all kinds of ways every single day. And that's part of life. That's part of entrepreneurship. That in no way for me means that I'm not going to win today, right? And so I think that it's just, for me, it's nothing more than an everyday part of life. I think setbacks for me, the biggest one has been, of course, just not having an education, right? Another one is, of course, being a woman, right? And wanting roles which we believe as a nation belong with men. And at every step of the way, I have to constantly prove that, no, I can do this in spite of being a woman. I can do this in spite of not having a degree. And so that's I think something that has been the biggest setback. But if I was to look back today, I think it's the best thing that could have happened for me, given my mission. अगर वो नहीं होता मेरे साथ, I don't think I would have cared about mobility in the way that I do, right? Because तब वो एक बन गया कि okay, the next girl who doesn't go to college will not go because she doesn't want to. It won't be because she doesn't have the access to, right? And I think that shaped what I've ended up doing. I think that's also proven that you can do it without all of that, right? And so, it's great. You should go to the best possible university that you can. Lekin jo nahi ja saka, that shouldn't be using that as an excuse to do nothing with their lives. You can do it anyway.
Were there any personal beliefs or habits that you had to unlearn during your journey to make sure that you don't repeat your mistakes?
Oh, I learn new things every day. But I think the one really big shift because I've come from the tech ecosystem, right? Where my job has been to burn a certain amount of money, right? And not necessarily be as efficient as I am today and scale much quicker, right? That's the general sort of trajectory for a startup. And all of a sudden that changed in 2022 when funding completely dried up from this country, right? And so we were seeing hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in, and then we were seeing basically nothing. And I think if I'm the only one I'm aware of that started in that time, actually, right? And so things had to be done very, very differently. And I think learning that and unlearning what I knew best, because I'm a hyperscaler. That was my job. I don't think anyone hyperscales better than me. I think that's my true strength. And I had to completely unlearn what up until that moment I thought was my greatest strength. I had to let that go and learn something completely new, right? In a much slower, more boring way of doing things. And I think that's been the big, big shift for me that I've had to make. So I think that's probably the one.
How does failure affect your decision-making power? I think sometimes it does put in some fear within you. How did you ever find that challenging, or you did find that challenging?
I'm a fearless person. I don't really understand fear. I think that fear is always there. It's just something I live with. It's not something that defines anything for me. There's fear sitting here right now doing this podcast with you, right? In my head, I'm really bad at these things. And so I'm sitting here with that fear. But that's not going to determine whether or not I chose to come here today and sit here today, right? And so it's there. It's always there. There's a lot of insecurities. So I let them be there. But what I do is not defined by that, ever. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just in relation to that, has there ever been any inner voice telling you that you're not good enough? Just let it be and stop doing it. An inner voice of self-doubt.
There's plenty of it.
And I'm asking because majority of women, we go through imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Right. That's the first thing that kicks in as
Absolutely.
soon as we are given a responsibility or we are elevated and we are like, oh my God, this is not what I can do.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that, because I'm sure there are young women, aspiring women out there who would want to hear from you.
Absolutely. So look, obviously the imposter syndrome is there. And then beyond that, I think in my case, there's everything I'm trying to do is against all odds, right? And so there are additional fears that come in. Companies with hundreds of millions of dollars have not been able to do what I'm attempting to do with my $2 million race, right? It's almost ridiculous. I don't think of myself as somebody, and I never have, as somebody who's intelligent. I don't think of myself as somebody who's, has half the brains of the next human being. But I think at some point I accepted that. And so now I think of myself as somebody who's not smart. Right? And I said, that's okay. I do not need to outsmart anyone in the world because I will outwork them. Right? And so I've taken my self-doubt and used that as ammunition, because now I tell myself, okay, you're useless. Right? So tumse to waise hi kuch nahi hona. So work harder. Right? And I think that's how I look at it. Right? And I can't believe I'm about to quote Will Smith, but I am, and he has this quote where he talks about, you might be sexier than me, you might be smarter than me, you have it on me in 9 categories out of 10. But there's one thing for sure. If you and I get on a treadmill, you're either getting off first or I'm dying. You will not outwork me, period, right? And I think that is how I look at life. And so the imposter syndrome can remain, the doubts, the insecurities, the belief that I'm not capable, which shows up very often, right? And you're right. When I talk to male founders, unme nahi aa raha hota wo, right? Like my closest friends, and unko nahi samajh aa raha hota ki mujh mein kyun aa raha hai, right? And I think that's how, in some way society has shaped us. We're all living with that. And I think and I hope that the next generation of women won't have to, because unke liye itna normalize kar chuke honge hum women are in these roles, it won't be a thought, right? And that's the ultimate hope. But until then, I use my weaknesses as my strengths. And I use that as my drive. And that's sort of the way that I operate.
Wonderful. I think that's very inspiring, being fearless and facing everything in the face of it. Maha, let's talk a bit about the current numbers. Where does Bus Karo stand? So you started in 2022 and we are now in 2025. Do you, as a founder, feel that, okay, you've achieved where you wanted to be by this time in 3 years of journey?
Absolutely not. But there are no numbers that could have made me feel like I've done enough, right? I would always want more, because these numbers define so many things for me. They define how many people I got to school, how many people could get to work, how many people on the captain side whose incomes I could increase, my own competence, how the Pakistan startup ecosystem is looked at. I think there's so many levels of responsibility that one feels that it's impossible to be satisfied, right? If I step away from this, and I think of it from the perspective of someone else looking at Bus Karo, am I happy with what has been accomplished? Extremely, right? So if I take myself out of this equation and I think of this as Muzaffar and Zawar's company, know me in it, I am so tremendously proud of them and the team for what, they've been able to accomplish. We have done over 15 million bookings. We have been a contribution margin positive tech business throughout this time. We're very close to break even in Pakistan. We've been able to help countless people in the process. We have insanely high retention numbers. Our retention numbers are 98, 99% is where they hover. Which if you look at mobility businesses is practically impossible, to achieve. We've been able to raise funds in an impossible industry, in an impossible market. So yes, when I look at this from the outside, I couldn't be more proud. When I look at it from the inside, of course, I want more. And I always will.
But then do you take some moments to celebrate? Because yes, satisfaction is something that from the inside, you still don't feel enough satisfied. Like, as a leader, for your people, it's very important to see you being satisfied and to celebrate the small wins. How do you do that?
Great question. So I guess, my team is a lot like me. And so there's a fight then. Because I'm like, ek second, ruk jao. Do you realize what we just did? And someone will be yelling at me, I don't have time for this. I have to go do this right now. And I'm like, just wait for 1 second, and I'm going to get these witty remarks from them saying like, unlike you, I have a lot more to accomplish. Like, you sit and be happy. I got to go work. But no, we do consciously just pause and look at what we've done. And, there haven't just been small wins. There have been humongous wins. And take a moment to reflect on that. But it's always that day, and then it's forget about it tomorrow morning and it's back to work.
Yeah, don't get too excited, and complacency is something that shouldn't be there, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
How do you look at yourself as a leader?
How do I look at myself as a leader?
What's your assessment about you as a leader?
I'm either extremely loved or hated. People have either worked with me and they will not work with anybody else. There are people whose entire careers have just been with me, right? There are people I called up when I started Bus Karo. There was no discussion on salary kya hogi, role kya hoga. I just said, I need you in the office tomorrow. And those people showed up, right? So I'm that leader. I'm also a leader who, for people who aren't all in, I'm not the right person to work with, right? Irrespective of whether it's my company or not. And so jisne kaam karna hai, I'm the best thing that can happen to them. Jisne nahi karna hai, you don't want to be anywhere near me. I think that's how I would put it. I would take a bullet for my team, but I would also hold them to a very, very high standard.
So what's your strength as a leader in one word?
Loyalty.
Loyalty. And I'm sure as a leader and as a person, you expect the same from your people as well.
And I have gotten more than that than I could ever deserve. And I think that has been my greatest strength. I don't think leaders generally will do for their teams what I would do for mine. And I don't think teams will do for people who are leading that organization, certainly not what my team has done for me. And I think that the authenticity and the loyalty, the honesty, the trust. Now, I almost sound like I'm talking about a marriage, but that is the foundation of any healthy relationship. And I've been able to have those relationships with, tons of people. And so that, I think, has been my greatest strength.
How would you react if somebody who is a key member of your team and you love them for what they do and who they are, and one day they walk up to you and say that they want to move on?
So first of all, in my case, this person would have come to me for advice to even get that interview.
Right.
And how to get that job, right? So one of our founding team members, Zen, is not with us anymore. And he decided at one point that he wanted to be out of Pakistan. He wanted to move to the UAE. He came to me and said, find me a job. I want to go to Dubai.
Wow.
Right.
That shows a lot of transparency and trust.
That's how that conversation went. He's like, I'm done with Pakistan. I want to leave. Naukri dhoond ke do. Right. And then he was following up with me like I'm his little intern and, on spreadsheets, tracking my progress on getting him a job. Right. And that's how that's been. Now, he's worked with me at Cheete. He's worked with me at Swivel. He's worked with me at Bus Karo. He's been super integral to this team, right? But he wanted something else. But I think that's the sort of transparency that there is. And also, if it was a time where I couldn't afford to let him go, I would have told him, abhi nahi ho sakta. And I guarantee he would have said, acha, theek hai. Let me know when I can go, right? And I think that is the way in which we work.
No, that's beautiful. It's rare.
I'm generally training people for interviews who are trying to leave me. But
I think that's a great service.
When you bring someone into your team, you're signing up to be their mentor, right? And then mentorship is not tied to an official document and a contract with that organization. And so I think it's very important to always look out for people's best interests. There have been plenty of times when people have said they're going to quit and I have lost it at them because I'm like, you're making a humongous mistake, right? You are acting out of anger or having a bad day and you cannot throw your life away. So I'm disregarding this resignation. We will not hear of it again and you will apologize to me tomorrow. And I have a lot of these like resignations followed by apologies. My inbox is flooded with them. But I think for me, I have to look out for my team, right? If that means staying with me, great. If that means it's time to leave me, also great. Fill in till you find the best possible replacement, train that person, and then I'll see you later.
Yeah. I think that's a great attitude of service leadership. What's your opinion on women, if at all they are able to carry their failures publicly, just as men in business?
They're not. And I'm, repeatedly opening up here today in an attempt to hopefully change that. But the standard we're held to is very, very different, right? I got married a couple of years ago. And when I did, there was talk all over town about how I'm now incompetent. That's not what they said for my husband. They said, oh, he's more settled now. He'll be even better. We're getting into the same marital contract. A very dear friend and someone I really admire, Halima, who's the founder of Iran, she gave birth recently. And everyone was like, oh, gee, wo Iran to khatam ho gayi, ab Halima had a child. And I was like, while I was hearing this, I was talking to her and she was sitting in the office like hustling, right? And I'm just like, this is absolutely absurd. Now I'm willing to bet nobody went and said that to her husband, right? And so I think that there's just such a different standard that women are held to because we don't believe they can do anything. If they've absolutely proven that they can do something, then we look for any excuse to say कि नहीं अब मगर नहीं कर सकती because of this reason, right?
Or maybe she's entitled, she had that kind of a support system, you know.
Yeah, she's somebody's daughter. That's why she got the
Exactly.
job. She's somebody's
Exactly.
wife.
Yeah.
That's why she got the job.
Yeah.
I still hear like these absurd rumors that I have a successful startup because I was married to a venture capitalist. And I'm like, this is the most illogical thing I've heard because there's 5 VCs. Losing one of them means I've lost 20% of the venture capital ecosystem because I cannot take money from that fund, right? So how in the world has that led to Bhaskaro's success, right? And people still have these rumors about how, you know, he's my lead investor and it's absolutely ridiculous. And so we love, I think, just putting women down and talking about them. But I think women need to just start ignoring it, not be bothered by it. And I think we should need to normalize that, oh, yes, we fail and then we get up and then we fail again and we get up just like the rest of you. And so I'm here saying all of this today, and if there'll be backlash tomorrow, then so be it. You know, that's how I see it.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much on our part as well as women to acknowledge the failures and then don't make a big thing out of it. I think most of us take it so much to heart that obviously then the world will also put us down.
Because I think it's been so hard to get success that the moment that's taken away, we're so afraid. Whereas I think a man has gotten it, you know, much easier. And so, you know, he's not as worried about how will I do this again. And I'm sitting here in a room full of men who probably don't like me for anything I'm saying right now. But, you know, that's just how it is. And so I think I think everyone, right, men and women, children, we need to start looking at failure very differently. It's just a big part of life. And it teaches you something. It tells you one thing that doesn't work, which leads you to the thing that does. And that's all there is to it.
Couldn't agree more. And I wish we had a lot more time to, you know, talk about this because this is getting so interesting. But in the best interest of time, I'll quickly ask you to, if you were to give an advice to your younger self and to the young audience out there who aspire to be like you, what would that be?
They shouldn't aspire to be like me. They should aspire to be, you know, better than me. They should aspire to have it easier than me. They should have all the success in the world, and they shouldn't have the obstacles that I faced and, you know, you've, I'm sure, faced and so many other women have faced. And I think it's on us to create that environment for them, right? But I think what I want to say to young people in general is just go out and work. Right? Work, fail, try, and it'll all work out. And do not, under any circumstances, let anyone else define what it is that you can and cannot do.
Wonderful. On a closing note, Maha, what's next for Bhaskaro? Or what's next for you? Are there any other ideas you want to invest your time and energy in? Or Bhaskaro is the dream business that you would like to build further?
The day mobility isn't a challenge for a woman in this country or for a little girl, that day I'll start thinking about other things. But until then, my life's mission is to ensure that, you know, we can get to school, we can get to work, we can do it safely, we can do it in a way that's affordable, and it's not a luxury. It's just something very basic. The day I achieve that, I'll find a different problem. Until then, that's what our mission is. We are about to start expanding to other markets. And so there's some interesting things happening there. But I think, you know, generally speaking, I decided what I want to do in 2017. And I'm at, you know, trying to solve that same problem today and look to solve that until we get the job done.
Wonderful. Can you tell me what percentage of this mission of mobility in Pakistan alone have you been able to achieve so far?
I think that's very hard to say, right? Only scratch the surface, of course. You know, there's millions and millions of people who are having this problem, right? Have we fixed for all of them yet? Absolutely not. Have we gotten 15 million bookings done that were safe, where nobody was worried, where nobody overspent? Yes. Do we intend to do hundreds of millions more? Absolutely. We'll be around to do that. But as of today, we're a very, very large population. I've got ways to go.
Wonderful. Maha, thank you so much. It was truly inspiring. It was truly engaging to talk to you, to hear from you, and to have so many others being inspired by you. Thank you so much. And I wish to see you again.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
That was another exciting episode of Duck Stories, and we wish to see you again on yet another one.